Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. It is another special edition for Coach E, Game for All Seasons, brought to you by Perfect Time Fitness with your boy Coach E, local neighborhood high school track coach, local neighborhood high school football coach, local neighborhood high school basketball coach, also most importantly, co-CEO El Presidente at Perfect Time Fitness and Meal Prep, head trainer at Perfect Time Fitness. Now, this is another special edition, the parent edition of Game for All Seasons. I am doing a nice little series where I'm getting all the parents involved with my clients and everything. So like I said before in the other episode, you see the back end of it. You just don't see my version and my insight of it. You see the parents, what they doing, what they thinking, how everything came apart and came together, everything like that. So without further ado, to my right-hand side, I got my main man, T Free. What's going on, T Free? Welcome to Coach E Studio.
What's going on, man? It's a pleasure to be here. First of all, I feel honored to be on this show with El Presidente. You know, we got something in common.
What's that?
Because I am the El Presidente of Fortis College.
Oh.
So I want to give a shout out to Fortis College while I'm on here, but just wanted to put that out there that we got something in common.
Hey, I'm glad we do. That's why we vibe so well like that.
Yes, absolutely.
So where is Fortis College at? Let the people know what's going on.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no doubt.
Fortis College is out in Cuyahoga Falls, which is near the Akron area. Currently, right now, we have 6 programs there, which is our nursing program, the LPN and the RN, and then we have HVAC and welding, medical assisting, and dental assisting. So we've grown our population. We definitely graduate folks and things of that nature. So anybody that's interested, come on out and check us out.
Well, you hear it. You got your first invite right there, personal invite. So come on, check out T Free down at Fortis College. So now that we have you on the show in the hot seat, I hope it don't get too hot, first of all.
Right.
Second of all, we always start the question with every single guest that we have on this show. How did you get to know Coach E?
Well, first of all, because I am a Bedford native and all that kind of stuff, and being in Bedford, you and I have known each other for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't understand exactly what you were doing until a person that I also know, which is Angelique Carter. Shout out to her and her husband.
Shorty, a.k.a. Shorty, because she is that.
Yes. But we were talking at the job one day, and I was telling her that I was having some conflicts with my son because I was the one doing the training and I was the one coaching him, and then I'm trying to be his father, and it was just, all those things was just not colliding good at times. So she said, you should talk to Evan. And of course, I was like, Evan who? And then she said, Evan Curry. I said, oh, I didn't know, Evan Curry do this stuff. So she said, oh, yeah, hook up with him. And then, from there, you and I got together and, hey, history is in itself now. 4 years in the game with you.
4 years in the game. It's been a good 4 years, too. Nice little track record we got together.
Absolutely.
So how old is your son right now?
13. Just turned 13 last week.
Man.
Yes.
So that's crazy. The first parent episode, I had Gia in here in that same seat. And a couple weeks before we did that episode, it was Caleb's birthday.
Yep.
So now you in the seat, and the week before you was in the seat is TK birthday.
Absolutely.
So let the people know what made you seek out the services and what brought you to me besides, Angie speaking it up and everything. What was your purpose on searching for a trainer to get him to another level?
Well, first of all, I think that there are a lot of components that play a role in starting children off earlier to get into this. I know a lot of people focus on like education and, getting tutoring and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But another big thing is making sure that your child's body, health, and things like that are taken care of and that they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing the correct way. And I think what really gravitated me when we were talking is that it wasn't about the weights. It wasn't about the aspect of, hey, I want you to see that I'm going to show him everything he needs to do and do it the right way. And then that's what I gravitated more to you and said, okay, it's not just coming in here and showing muscle or losing weight. I'm going to show you how to do these things and why these things are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what really, said, okay, this is the person we need to join and build a relationship with.
And I really appreciate you coming. So a lot of people out there, we was just talking before we turned the mics on how everybody asks me to do their sons and their daughters and everything, I always have one stipulation that it is a freshman in high school or above. But I also took in consideration when you came and approached me that, like you just mentioned, our previous history, knowing each other for years and everything like that. So that actually helped me make the decision because I knew you, knew what kind of guy
Right.
you are, and know that it's not about to be nothing more than literally just the work. You'll give me the keys to the car, allow me to do what I need to do, allow me to coach how I need to coach, train how I need to train, speak to him the way I need to speak to him. Not saying that it's going to get outlandish or anything, but sometimes it does call for that. And I
Absolutely.
never had a problem with you, and you never had a problem with me doing that. So I just thank you and giving you your flowers for being a dad. And, because sometimes, not you, but other guys, have an ego issue. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, don't say that to my son and don't treat my son like that. Don't talk to my son like that.
Right.
So I appreciate you doing that, man.
Oh, absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off of that, one of the things I needed my son to do is be able to learn how to build a relationship with someone else
Yeah.
that's giving him a different type of push.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things that I would say that you would piggyback off of, and we hadn't talked, or there would be things that you gave it from a different perspective, and he needed that tough love. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you're nice with him, but then there's times where you have to have that tough love. And I think one of the biggest things that I would tell any parent, especially dealing with you, is sit back and trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because there is an end state goal, there is a method to your madness,
Yes.
and things like that,
Yes, it is.
and that you got to trust the process. And as long as you can trust the process, and then if there's a situation where you're not trusting the process, that they give you an opportunity to speak on it and things like that, and don't interfere while you're doing your session, and wait till afterwards.
And so that's what I always tell my high school kids when I'm coaching or training or doing whatever I am with them. Always it's mental and physical with me because you can't have the physical without being mental at some point in time, because it's going to come a point in time in the game or in the competition or whatever you're doing that mental is going to play a huge part into it. So I kind of like to throw them off so they can try to figure me out and why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm saying what I'm saying and why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it. So that just gives them another way when they get older, because they may meet another coach just like me and they know how to communicate and they know how to deal with that other coach. Because
Absolutely.
nowadays, you know how the youth is. They're so sensitive and they don't like to be coached because you have to speak a certain way to a kid and they're not used to it with all these broken homes, man. Let's just keep it
Exactly.
real.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of fathers aren't there, so they don't know how to receive and accept coaching the way they do. And I appreciate you once again for setting that foundation with your son and having him being open to that. But at the beginning, he was still kind of like, "Uh-oh, like, is he serious or like, is he joking?"
You're right.
But I love to do that so they can figure it out for themselves and
Absolutely.
then apply themselves accordingly after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my son is more of an introvert.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, he's more of an introvert. But now that y'all have created that 4-year relationship, we can't get him to be quiet.
Right. It is times where you just gotta either turn the music up
Exactly.
or just talk over him.
Exactly. But I will tell you this: your program, your method is working so well
Mhm.
that when he comes up short in his academics and things like that, that I can actually use your session as a punishment.
Mhm.
It's like, what? I can't go to Coach E. I said, listen, if you can't get your academics together,
What's the point?
then what's the purpose of doing this? And just for the record, I want everybody to know my son's academics is good, but I have high expectations for him. So
Right.
anytime we come up a little short, I'm like, hey, I may have to give Coach E a call and tell him, look, we're going to miss this session. So that just lets you know how much respect that he has for you and your program and your sessions and things like that, that he's willing to do what he needs to do on this side to make sure that he gets this aspect of it. So that's just, a remarkable thing on your side. So I definitely thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. With those expectations that you just brought up, definitely in the classroom, did you ever sit him down and like set expectations athletically? Did you ever have that thought, or are you planning to breach that later on the further he gets, or has that already been done?
We've definitely had a conversation on it. The main question I asked my son, even before we started with you, is do you want to just play,
Mm-hmm.
or do you want to be serious?
Right.
Because if you want to just play, then let me sign you up for the YMCA and let you do some things like that. That's a little
Friendly
bit,
in the mirror.
yeah, there we go. That's a little less expensive, you know. And then he says, "No, Daddy, I want to be serious." And then the question that we do every year. So after the first year, we revisit it again
Mm-hmm.
to say, "Hey, do you still have a love for what you're doing?" Because as a parent, sometimes we live through our kids,
Absolutely.
and then when we're living through our kids, we don't realize, okay, our kids have lost the love of it.
Yeah.
Even though we still have the love in it, our kid has lost the love. So I told my son, anytime you feel that you're losing the love of
Mm-hmm.
it, let me know so then we can either pivot, move in a different direction, or find out why did we lose the love and what do we need to do? Can we get it back,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case is. So we talk about those things because there's multiple different types of relationships. You have friendships, you have relationships with your family, then you have relationships with yourself, and then you got a relationships with your athletics and your school and
Yeah.
things in that nature. So yeah, we've definitely have talked about those things, and then we will talk about high school because middle school right now is a different relationship with sports than it is at the high school level.
Absolutely. So that's a conversation that I always have with the kids, especially like the freshmen that I see coming into the school. I literally ask them, are you ready to do this for 10 more years? Because 10 more years from now, you'll be 24 years old.
Exactly.
I'm so happy you playing in high school. I'm so happy you're doing all this stuff right now. But if high school is the end goal, let me know now so I know how to coach you, so I know how to deal with
Exactly.
you. But if you're ready to do this 10 years after, then now we talking. Now we got to gradually take that high road and that heavy pedal. We got to get it going. Introduction first. Like I said,
Absolutely.
the freshman level, sophomore level, I'm expecting more out of you. Junior level, I'm expecting more out of you. I would expect you to be kind of hitting your prime at 11th grade and
Absolutely.
showing your intensity, your knowledge of the game, and just your passion as well.
Absolutely.
You have to develop that at a young age in order to know, just like a light switch, turn it on, turn it off. Once you hit that field, it's all business. Once you hit that court, all business. Once you hit that track, all business.
Absolutely.
Off the court, be a young man. Conduct yourself the way you're supposed to. So with all that being said, where do you see him like being the best at, whether it be because he plays all sports?
Yes.
What is his bread and butter in your eyes?
You know, that's a good question. I see a lot of potential in football,
Mm-hmm.
but I also see potential in basketball. This is his first year running track,
Mhm.
and when I say first year running track, meaning first year being in an organized track
Track
system,
program, yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
And so I see some potential in possibly running a 400.
Oh,
Okay,
that's big talk right there now.
right, and then there's some possibilities in long jump. So he's not. When I say he's not the fastest, but he has good endurance.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why I said maybe the 400. And then in football right now, they have him positioned as a running back. But truthfully, as you and I have talked about this before, that we probably see him more as a tight end
Mm-hmm.
because he can catch, he has the body, he has the height, and things like that. So we looking more at that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if I had to say, football, basketball would be in that order: football, basketball, and then track. But I don't know. You may see something different when he get to the high school level. He may
Yeah.
change his mind on basketball and then go from there.
Okay. So with all that being said, do you have an athletic background? What was your passion? What was your hobbies when you were coming up? Was it sports or was it computers? What was it?
Well, for me, yeah, it was playing sports. I did play football, basketball, and ran track as well. But to be honest with you, track was just to make sure I was good for football and basketball.
And
Um,
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you right there. I hope y'all heard what he said because I preach that so much. I mentioned before, so many people put all their eggs into one basket and just do the specific training for that just one sport, but they don't
Right.
understand the track is going to help with basketball. The basketball is going to help with football. The football is going to help with track and basketball.
Right.
So my bad. I just had to let that
No,
out.
no. Hey, listen,
Jump
I
on
get
that piggyback, you know?
but yeah, so I ran track, but and it's funny because I also ran the 200 and the 400, and then I ran the 4x4.
Okay.
So and then I did long jump. So he's kind of following in those footsteps. I didn't ask him to do it. I told him, figure it out on his own. But for me, it was actually I went further in basketball than I did all of them. I actually had an opportunity to go over to France, Belgium, and try out for the professional team years ago. And for me, the biggest problem I had was it was a transition from coming from a city,
Yeah.
and then going over to Belgium, France, and they just do things a lot different than we do over here. And then I'm 18 years old at the time, right? And I'm over there and I'm lost. And just for the record, they have more fast food places over there now. But the only thing they had then was Mickey D's. So I ate McDonald's every day.
Every day.
Because I couldn't adjust to the food over there. So things are different now. But, at that time, at 18 years old, to go over to France, and then they speak a different language and things like that. So I had a translator and all that stuff, to the point where I had asked my mom, I said, look, I need you to come over here and spend some time with me. And then that's when her and I says, okay, is this what you want to do?
Right.
And I said to her, I says, no, I think it's time for me to come back to the United States, go to college. And then, so then I went into education, and then that's what happened with me. But yeah, basketball was my love.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's a good thing. So what about him? Where do you see his main focus at? Do you see it in football the same way you do, or do you see it in basketball? Or now, since it's his first year in the track program fully, do you see him taking a good liking to that as well? Which one do you think he's steering to?
Absolutely. Now, it's interesting that you said that for football is still his main focus in sport and things like that. However, with track, because when we started talking about it, and I says, hey, you may want to try the 400. He's like, one time around the track and I got a sprint.
Yes, sir.
He says, I don't think I want to do that. To the point now where he's saying, hey, I like it.
Okay.
And then he started, because I didn't set a goal for him, he started setting goals on, hey, this was my time here. I want to get 4 seconds off of it. I want to get 2 seconds down to start working on that. So he's been challenging himself with the track. And maybe it will become more of a love after this year.
I believe so.
Okay. But right now, it's just an interest, if that makes sense. So it may turn into a love. And then we'll kind of go from there. But I still think that football is his number one.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, with that interest, because at one point in time, that's how everything started. Football was just interest.
It's just the interest.
And
right?
then now it took on a whole nother level and a whole nother meaning in his life, and then his passion for it. So hopefully track will be the same.
Oh, absolutely. I think it will be, but we'll revisit that after the season is over, and then we'll go from there and see.
See how it ended up first.
Right.
So as far as college, I don't know if you went that far in your thought process and started talking to him about that, because in my opinion, it's never too early, especially if they already had that talk with their kids. And like I mentioned with the 10-year after, right now at the 14-year-old age, that if you're ready for that, we need to take these necessary steps to give you the best opportunity to allow you to choose what school you want to go to, what you want to study, and what sport you want to play in that particular school. So have you had that collegiate conversation with him?
We definitely had that conversation, and it's interesting that you asked that question, because the way the conversation started is that my son has already got his first college credit course in English. So he took a college credit course at Tri-C, and got to be in the English class, and the work was done by himself. Okay, but
no ChatGPT.
Yes, no AI or none of those things going on. but he ended up doing that. So that's where the conversation had begun. Is we says, hey, we want you to take this course, and we want you to start, thinking about college and things like that. Now, it was a twofold for me, because I'm at a college that is a career college.
Right.
So do you want to go to college to focus on a career like HVAC or welding? Or do you want to go to college and you say, hey, I want to go into maybe sports medicine or something like that, something to deal with sports coaching, management, or
Yeah.
what are those things that you want to do? So he didn't quite have an answer on that. He said HVAC and weld. He says, Daddy, I don't really know about that. So I'm going to say no to that for right now.
Hey, you threw a tough one at him too.
Exactly.
HVAC and welding. That's a mean start.
Right.
To
So
the trade world.
exactly. So, but I think what we were speaking about is that you have to know exactly what college fits for you. Right now, for him, the college that's the most popular as far as color,
Oh yeah.
the uniforms,
No
and
doubt.
all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then, so that's where his mindset is right now. But I think as we get older, because we have already introduced him to the collegiate level, that
Mhm.
he understands that that is a goal that his mom and I have, in store for him as parents. That hey, you're going to go to college. Now, if you don't like college and you want to then make a decision, maybe you want to go to the military or go into the workforce right away. Those options are available to him. I'm not going to stop him from making those decisions, but we have introduced the collegiate level to him.
Okay. So you pretty much comfortable with, that time is gonna come for him to make that decision by himself, or are you gonna Deion Primetime Sanders the situation?
What's very interesting is, and his mom and I, we've had some conversations, and if he gets a full ride to a school, whether it's academically or athletically,
Mm-hmm.
then we will obviously take that in consideration. However, if it's a school that we're going to pay out of pocket for, then I want him to go to a HBCU.
Oh, okay.
And I am huge in supporting HBCU schools. I didn't have an opportunity to go to an HBCU school, nor did his mother. So I think that, when we sat down and just had a discussion about colleges and things like that, we had came to the agreement that we would pay for a HBCU school. And who knows, he may get a scholarship to that. But if it doesn't work that way, we will follow the scholarships, obviously. But
Yeah.
if we have to pay out of pocket for him to attend school, then our goal is to do an HBCU.
Okay, that's a good thing. So on this show before, on our regular show, when I have my two assistant coaches, the co-hosts Byron and Zen, we always have these debates, right? So Zen is a big HBCU guy.
Mm-hmm.
We have these conversations just athletically and facility and competition, in my opinion. I always tell him HBCUs is still trying to get up there, but now with the NIL and the transfer portal, I don't know how they're going to be able to get over that hurdle. Do you see a way that can happen, that the playing field will even out, that one day HBCUs will have the same opportunities and same facilities and same structure that a Power 5 D1 school would have?
If I think that will happen by the time my son gets there, no.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that it will get there at some point? Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it will happen at that time. Would I like to see it happen at that time? Absolutely. But I hate to say it like this. It may be my son's children.
Yeah.
that will see that opportunity, and then and then we kind of go from there. But no, we're I'm gonna say this. I think that the at the collegiate level, the HBCUs, and I think because of prime time, that they've gotten the most recognition that they haven't seen forever.
Yeah.
And then now you have Eddie George that just signed with a small MAC school.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for changes with small schools
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So shout out to Bowling Green for Eddie George doing that. But you got these smaller schools, HBCU schools, that are going to start getting more recognition, television time, and things like that. So, but it's not going to move as fast as I think the fans or us parents want to. But we'll start to see some of that stuff.
Okay, that's always a heated debate.
I believe it.
Oh man, I'm talking about, and I'm not saying that I have anything against HBCUs, because my brother went to Tennessee State,
Sure.
which Eddie George's came from.
Yep.
The well-renowned HBCU.
Yep.
I don't have any problem with it, but I'm just talking about with the the competition, man.
Absolutely.
It's a big step down from the Power Five, and it's a big step up from the HBCU to the Power Five. And typically, the guys that go to the HBCUs are the guys that still trying to hold on to their dreams when they really aren't blessed with that much athletic ability as the other guys, but they still have enough to continue their playing careers. I'm not saying there's no diamonds in the roughs and there's no exceptions to the rules, but that's all I'll be trying to tell them. Like, it's just a little difference. So to every kid that wants, and I really don't know of any kids that I've ever coached that sought out to go to a HBCU. So that's the thing I think we need to get over first. And maybe with the Deshaun Jackson and the Michael Vick hires, maybe that'll start coming even more when they get those names in there like that. But like you said, I really think it's going to be a way slower process than everybody thinks.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree with that. But I also think, and again, I give a shout out to Travis Hunter because he was a top.
D-top.
Athlete that said, hey, I'm going to go to a HBCU school. And then, granted, he transferred, but here you got your Heisman Trophy out of that. So he broke some barriers and things like that I think that people are starting to open up their eyes to see it. Now, whether they publicly
Right.
That is different, but
totally different.
Exactly. But you do know that there's people that's opening their eyes and seeing that. And a lot of the athletes that are in the league, you'll be surprised how many people are coming out of HBCU schools that are a professional athlete of some sort.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to happen, but it's definitely going to be a turtle walk.
Yeah. I like how you put that. Now back to your son TK.
Yes,
with him about to start, because pretty much the school year is winding down at the tape right now. The finish line is a couple weeks away.
Yep.
So, are you anxious for him to start that high school journey and see how he measures up with the other kids right now? With him being an incoming freshman, do you see him having a leg up over the class that he's in, freshman class coming up? Do you think that he'll have a leg up on that?
Well, what we have, so we understand he's not going there. He's going to the 8th grade. So,
oh man, why am I a year ahead of this?
Yeah. Definitely.
Whoa,
but it's
sorry, Mary.
No, it's a good question. It's definitely a good question to ask though, because that's one of the things we were talking about as a 7th grader.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the 8th graders, right? You're running track with these 8th graders and things like that. Do you feel that you can, be competitive and get into that role? Because as you were saying, like by the time you in the 11th grade, you need to be, your game needs to be elevating and understand these same people that you're looking at that's currently in the 8th grade. These are the people that you're going to be playing with and fighting for position and things like that. And then once you get to the collegiate level, the only time freshmen come up is when they're introducing you.
Yeah.
Other than that, while you're on the field, they can care less about whether you're a freshman or a senior. We're going to put the best player out there.
Exactly.
So right now, as a 7th grader going into the 8th grade, he has to keep in mind that you're competing with the people that's in the 8th grade. But when you get to the freshman level, you're going to be competing with freshmen and juniors and sophomores, seniors, and all that kind of stuff at some point in time. So he has to keep that things in mind, and we've talked about those things.
And that's another good point that you brought up. Well, with you being that incoming freshman competing with the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, fast forward to your freshman year in college, those are going to be the sophomore, juniors, and seniors that you've been competing with, but just on a national level at that time, especially in college. But still, that's why you have to gauge yourself at that early time that we were just talking about, so you can keep that in mind. So, okay, I was here when I was a freshman. I was competing. I was better than some of these 10th graders, but I was almost as good as an 11th grader. So now you can have that measuring stick as an 11th grader. I'm better than all the 11th graders. I'm equal to a senior. So that means I'm ahead of schedule.
Exactly.
So that's the perfect thing to do. It's a perfect situation to go into. And it gives you more options with the scholarship selection and the level of school that you will be getting those scholarships from.
Absolutely. But there's two components that I want to make sure we talk about here. We're talking about athleticism, and then we're talking about comprehension.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So when we talk about athletic as an athlete, I think my son is even though he's 13, he has a body of a freshman.
And that's what threw me off. That's what I was doing with the freshman coming in. Like,
Right.
8th grade, yeah.
So, but he has his body frame already to be able to compete with freshmen and things like that. But now it's about the capacity, his comprehension and things of that nature. Can you understand the playbook? Can you understand, people's feelings and knowing yourself? And how do I work with someone that may be a little bit more, defiant?
Yeah.
Because we do have prima donnas at this age.
Absolutely.
Right.
They everywhere.
Exactly. So some people that feel like they need to touch the ball more and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Whereas I'm explaining to him that sometimes you have to lead through people
Yeah.
and you're not always the leader.
Right.
So we're learning all of those attributes that I want him to have, because let's face it, as a coach, in your experience, you will take a person that's coachable over one that's the most athletic. It's non-coachable.
If you're an athletic jerk, I'm not going to have the patience for you. But that kid that works hard and athletic and is coachable, absolutely, he's going in first.
Absolutely. So those are the things that, we talk about now. And he sees it. He sees the kids out there now that are pouting, upset. You got to learn how to lose. One of the things I definitely want to put in here is we talk about success and failure. And one of the biggest things I say with success and failure is they're not opposite. And I think a lot of people feel that success is the opposite of failure and vice versa. And I says it's not the opposite. I said those two words are in a relationship. They're in a marriage. You cannot have success without failure.
Exactly.
So the question that I ask him when he loses a game or he didn't perform well, or even on a test, if he didn't do where he wanted to be, that is a sign that, okay, you failed at that, right? So the question is how do you bounce back from that?
Yeah.
What adjustments, what changes do you have to make? What upgrades do you need to do to get yourself to be on the other side of that relationship and be on the success side of it? So we're definitely right now talking about success and failure, not opposite, but as a marriage.
Okay, that was a hell of a way to put it right there. That was well broken down, brother. So this is always the last question I ask.
Yes.
Where do you see your son going? We just sat here talked about the high school coming up. We just sat here talking about college after that. Where do you see him going, and what do you see him achieving at the level that you see him going to?
Absolutely. I have a goal. My goal is for my son to go to college and go on a full ride. From a person that's been to college with a undergrad and a master's degree and paying for them. And again, I say and paying for them, meaning that I'm still paying for them. I didn't get the scholarships and all that kind of stuff. But that's the goal, is that he, doesn't have a student loan or things like that. And then whatever happens after that, if it's, hey, if he gets an opportunity to play in the professional league, great. But if not, then he goes and finds his niche in the professional world, whether it's, like I said, whether it's sports medicine and the reason I keep saying sports medicine or something dealing with sports is because he is really involved in that. So, but it may be, being an analyst or something like that. Maybe you want to get on TV. I don't think so. He's an introvert, but you never know. There's plenty of introverts that actually get on the radio and do well. Actually, Michael Jackson was an introvert, but then when he got on stage, he had a performance, right?
Best performer.
So
of all time.
exactly. So you look at that and just say, hey, the sky's the limit for him. But all I'm going to do is give him as much sky as I can, so that he can make a really good decision for him.
Well, you broke down everything to the best way that you possibly can. Dude, you deserve that horn right there, because you did an excellent job, man.
I appreciate that.
I thank you for accepting the invite, and I thank you for trusting me and investing into your son the way you have been over these years that we've been together. And I'm just giving you your flowers and giving you all the praise as a dad. Doing a great job as a dad, black dad. You're doing a great, great job. don't stop. I know you're not, but we got to encourage each other as we go, man.
Absolutely. And like I said, we started this 4 years ago, and I've just seen how you have not been on this consistent level. And I say this because a lot of people say consistency is success.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this. If you look at a heartbeat, and when it goes consistent, that's flatline.
Not coming back from that.
Exactly. So what I tell people is that you're going to have ups and downs, and that means you got life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I've seen what you put into it, and there is nothing consistent about it. It has been climbing, and we're going to ride this wave with you until the end. So I appreciate what you're doing and all that good stuff. And I'll tell everybody out here that's watching this, come see Coach E. He has a good plan in place, and trust the process. So much love to you on that one, brother.
I appreciate that, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and watching another episode of Coach E, the Parent Edition. Once again, thanks to my guy T Free coming through, providing us with all that good knowledge. He was dropping some dimes, y'all. Pay attention to this. Rewind it, watch it again. You need to learn this. But with all that being said, see you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to Game for All Seasons with Coach E. Remember to hit the like or subscribe button on Coach E's YouTube channel. To listen on the go, download wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure to follow Coach E on Instagram, X, and TikTok at BigF216. Contact us at www.perfecttimefitness.com for one-on-one or group training sessions. Our theme music provided by Mr. Taboo Timmons on SoundCloud at Mr. Taboo Timmons. Once again, thanks for listening, and see you next week.